Well, earlier I spoke to Labour's Emily Thornberry. She's also the Shadow Attorney General. And I started by asking her if she was going to vote for this bill.
No, we're not going to vote for this. This is a load of old rubbish. Suella Braverman, I agree with her, right? I actually agree with her on this. She said, I've written it down. She says that people are sick of tough talk and inadequate action. Absolutely. And the Conservatives keep coming forward with legislation. Remember, there was a bill very much like this last year. But it doesn't stop the small boats. What you have to do to stop the small boats is you need to have a proper plan. And a very important part of that plan is to have a system that processes people quickly. You need to have a firm and a fast and a fair asylum system, right? And what they're doing is that they're saying anybody who arrives from a small boat, we are simply going to not allow them to claim asylum. They are not going to be able to go to the courts. They're not allowed to appeal the decision that we've made. We're just going to lock them up. And then we're going to, well, then what? Because the legislation last year that they passed, they identified from that legislation 18,000 people who they said were not legitimate asylum seekers and were not going to be allowed to claim asylum. And how many of them have they returned? 21.
So today,
Yes,
Rishi Sunak responding to your leader, Sir Keir Starmer, he said that essentially, Sir Keir, Labour, just a bunch of lefty lawyers trying to block action. If you're not going to vote for this bill, that's exactly what you're doing, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you can send as much abuse as you want, I suppose. I mean, it's that it doesn't really help. What we should be doing is what are the practical solutions that could be put forward, right? You can pass a bit of legislation. You can throw around a whole lot of rhetoric. You can insult people. But the way that you actually measure success is, does it stop the small boats? Or if people do come, does it unclog the system? Does it result in people being sent back? None of this is going to happen. None of it has happened so far. Our asylum and immigration system is so broken. And there is only one party that has broken it, and that is the Conservative Party. They've been in power for 13 years, and it has got worse and worse and worse. Taxpayers are paying a fortune in hotel fees for people who've come here and who are claiming asylum, whose cases are not being heard, who are waiting for years and years. Some of them are legitimate asylum claimers. Some of them legitimately are fleeing war and the most terrible circumstances. And other people are taking the mickey. And what we need to do is we need to have a system that deals with them quickly.
So what would Labour's plan be then? How would Labour bring illegal migrant numbers down?
Okay, so the first thing that we would do is we would make sure that the system is unblocked, and we would speed up the system of making decisions about asylum. Secondly, we would have a special unit within the crime force, which would have a job of seeking out the illegal gangs. We have intelligence that tells us that 2/3 of those who are running these illegal gangs actually live in Britain. Are we arresting any of them? No. Are we putting any of them in jail? No. All we're doing is we have a prime minister and a home secretary who just indulge in rhetoric. We need to make sure that we also deal with this matter upstream, so that we need to look again at what the rules are for family reunion. And we need, in negotiation with other countries, to not just talk about family reunion, but also to talk about returns. And, in that way, by getting agreements with other countries, we can start regularizing the system. But at the moment, all that they're doing is saying, we're going to break international law. Oh, we're not going to break international law. Oh, do you like it or don't you like it? Oh, you're a bunch of lefty lawyers. I mean, this is no way to run a country.
So Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, has responded to a sports presenter, Gary Lineker's tweet yesterday, where he claimed that the language being used by the Tory party wasn't too dissimilar from the same language used in Germany in 1930. She said that those comments were irresponsible. Do you agree with her?
I have to say, speaking personally, I would never compare anything with the Nazis. I think that the Nazis have a particular place in hell for the things that they did. And I think that it is very difficult to kind of sink below the Nazis. So I don't personally think that that's the right sort of language to use. It's obviously a matter for him, but I wouldn't use that kind of language. And it's disappointing, that he is, but it really is a matter for him. I do know that he is someone who feels very strongly about this issue, and he has indeed, met a large number of refugees, and I believe introduced them into his home. So it is up to him, and certainly it's not up to me as a politician to tell the BBC what to do in relation to those comments. I just wouldn't use them myself.
OK. Emily Thornberry, thank you very much for your time on 5 News. Thank you.
Not at all.